course, in simple terms, allows a family, members of the family, to come together to pool collectively their assets and hold them, enjoy them and administer them on the terms of a family ownership contract. All types of property can be included in that contract, other than shares in publicly traded companies. That's the only exception. And the law's relatively permissive as to what the contract can say, and so the family can tailor-make the contract to fit their particular terms and requirements. The benefit of putting all the property together is you can then collectively manage it. Either the family can do that themselves, or they could appoint third-party managers to do that, and they can oversee those managers by having a committee that's formed of family members so that they can dismiss and appoint managers and set their terms of reference. There's a judicial committee that's going to be set up, and that will be responsible for overseeing disputes. That's obviously a benefit to families because it keeps it out of the local courts and ensures the privacy and confidentiality of that process. And finally, this is a contract that can be notarized, whereas previously the notaries wouldn't have notarized a contract like this. Now the law says that they can, and so they will do so going forward. So the new law is an immediately available way for families to organise their current circumstances. Quite often, families would put together a family constitution. The problem with that has always been one of its enforceability. So the family ownership contract, given that you can provide for the similar sorts of terms that you have in a family constitution, is an advancement because it enables families to provide for the same sorts of matters in a more legally binding way. The other issue with the law is that it's relatively new, and so we're not immediately clear as to how regulators are going to react to the law, and we will need to see how they adopt it going forward in Dubai. So I think the pertinent question to ask is, why did the legislators feel that a law like this was necessary? And obviously they've identified a specific need where families need additional assistance, additional tools available to them to govern their internal affairs and organise their asset holdings. But in a way, I think the law raises a number of questions as much as it gives answers, in particular the issue of succession. Family members that inherit under the contract like this don't have to be bound by its terms unless they agree to. So you can easily imagine a scenario where the next generation decides not to be bound by the contract. The other issue is that of legal holding, legal title to assets and how they're held. The law doesn't provide for a mechanism for that to happen. And that's one of the key aspects of legal structuring for families, is how do we ensure that the assets stay in place whilst family members come and go. So I think the takeaway is that for a family looking at their affairs going forward, to think about all of the options, the legal structuring options available to them, and pick the right one for them, which could be a family ownership contract, when thinking about regularising their affairs now, but also for the future.